everybody to speak into the mic. If you go online and somebody's in the audience online, they can't hear us. And that's the reason why we're speaking to the mic, because so the record of our meeting. So please, everybody, they're all on and they're voice activated. So if you talk, speak into the mic. Okay. You don't have. Pledge allegiance. Roll call.
Present.
Present.
Three.
Present.
Fred Stewart.
Present.
White Dowdy.
Yes.
Steve, how do you pronounce?
Mayors,
M-A-R.
Mairs.
Okay, thank you very much. I said I was going to call you Steven, I think, right?
Well, Steve's the
Either way.
alternate, right?
I go either way.
Pardon?
I respond to either name,
Steve or Steven?
Steve or Steven, doesn't matter.
Okay. He's the alternate, right?
Correct.
No.
Well,
No,
because Tracy's not here.
Pardon?
I was appointed as a full member.
Right. Tracy's
Okay,
the
so
alternate.
we're all voting members then.
He's the alternate.
Thank you for correcting.
Apologize.
We're all voting members.
Yeah. Did you get it right?
Adjustments to the agenda? Please.
The only minutes available are June 10th. So there are still at the next meeting, June 24th and May 27th are still, I'm still behind on those, but June 10th minutes are available.
There is one set in here, right?
Yeah.
June 10th, okay. That it?
Yes.
All right. We're now moving on to accepting the minutes from the June 10th meeting. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
June 10th.
Motion been made by Betty. Jamie
Second that.
seconded it.
Oh, you seconded.
Jamie seconded it. Discussion, any errors, omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Vote. All right, we're moving on to 23 North Upper Narrows Lane. Tell us what you want us to know.
We've submitted officially our first version of the application for the addition to our house. That's closer to the water than the front of my house, which is at the 250-foot mark. And it's in the protected shoreline zone on Upper Narrows Pond. So you should have that packet in front of you.
Go ahead, we do. Talk to us about your project.
Yeah, so I'm an electrician, local electrician. I got my own company and I'm looking to have some storage space to have equipment, materials, everything. So that's kind of the garage on the bottom. And then I also have 4 kids and they're all in 2 bedrooms right now. And we don't have a dining room. So it's getting a little tight. So the top part is going to be bedrooms and then it'll allow us to expand. One of the bedrooms will actually combine with the office area and turn into a decent sized dining room. And then that'll give them a playroom and bedrooms up above. And the only way that we can position it, so I don't know if you guys remember, you came and did a site visit last fall, but the septic's on the right side of the house.
Was that last fall?
It was right before snow.
Wow.
I remember I was thinking that today when I was driving here. You guys came out at like 6:45 and it was pitch black.
Wow.
Driving here today, it's like we got another hour and a half of sun, you know?
Wow. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we kind of have to go to the left side of the house and then that kind of caps the end of the driveway nicely. But the problem is that it's closer. It's within that 250-foot mark of the waterfront, the high water mark.
How much?
Um, you'd have to refer. I'm sorry, I actually don't have a packet in front of me.
23 feet,
I'm sorry?
23 or 27.
Yeah, it moves it. I think it's like 28 feet closer.
Within the 250?
Yes. But that info is in there. I think it's in the like the written part at the beginning. I think that kind of lays it all out. But the land is already kind of shaped that way. And then basically all the materials that we'd have to move to be able to put it in is all going to kind of move within the landscape, because then it allows us to expand the driveway at the top too, because I'm about to have, 2 or 3 more vehicles trying to park in there too for the kids. So there won't be a lot of like bringing materials in to make this project happen. It's really just going to be a lot of just moving stuff around. So, and I don't know if you guys remember too, but I tried to use Elliot Thayer. I tried to have him here instead of me, and he just ghosted us for some reason. I have no idea why. I must have said something dumb. But we called 5 other people in the local area, and every single one of them have worked with Elliot so much that they didn't want to take one of his, I don't know, customers or something. And
Really?
they would even email Elliot, blind CC me and my email in. I would get the response that, oh, I'll reach out to them in 2 weeks. And then I
I
never.
think you shared that with us last fall when we were up there. He wasn't talking to you.
I can't even get him to send an invoice. I'm like, what do I owe you, dude? Like, you've been out twice. You made that initial print that you can see. And so that was kind of my first visit last fall when I had you guys out, was do I need more from a professional, as far as getting the elevations and map it all out and stuff. And so this is our version 1 application. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think.
Okay, so you're all set?
Yeah.
Out over here. Stephen, any questions?
No questions.
White?
I just want to make sure that place on the house is going to exceed 35 feet height.
It's not.
I know your existing house didn't, but I didn't know as the
Right.
land slopes away.
Yeah, no, again, it's in that, it's kind of, I know it's a long written,
Oh,
the
it's in the
first,
text?
it is, it's
Okay,
in the
I
text
didn't see
part,
that.
yes.
I didn't see that.
You can kind of figure it out if you do the math on the actual prints, on like the Hammond lumber prints. But no, I think the highest, and again, I didn't read it before I came in, but it's in the written part. It's like maxes out between like 28 and 32 feet at the high end of the gable point.
You also, when we did the site visit, you mentioned doing modifications to the driveway area
Mhm.
to accommodate that and possibly doing it so that it, was draining back towards the driveway, flattening it out some.
Mhm.
But I didn't see I didn't see that in here where you're doing the earthwork. I see a line, but I don't really see kind of what you're doing. So that's the only thing I was kind of feeling like
Okay,
we're missing is just an understanding of what you're doing because it is in the shoreland zone.
right.
It is a relatively moderate to steep slope. Just knowing how you're going to contain that and you're not, are you building a wall? You're not building a wall.
Yep. Yeah,
You
the-
kind of described it on the site, but
Mhm.
it'd be nice to know kind of, so we had that in the package, like, here's what I'm doing.
Yep.
At least your estimate for right now, what you're doing.
Yeah, we can add a paragraph in that written part, just to
Okay.
really spell it all out. But yeah, there was, because it was all farmland, they have rock walls everywhere, all over my property.
Right, and you have a lot of rocks, so.
Right, so I'm just
you're
taking
talking
those
about
rocks and making a barrier, and then all the material that I'm moving for the addition is just literally going up against it.
You
Yeah.
explained that at site, you just said you were gonna.
Yeah.
Use on-site material and move it. The question was just sort of like, where's that wall gonna be?
Mhm.
A rough
Well, that
idea.
is the line,
that-
there is a line
that-
for it.
The plan is that's where the rock wall's gonna be?
Yes, that's the expansion to that point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what we would want to see, you mentioned the mulch berm. We would
Yes.
want to see that like a dash line saying, okay, my mulch
Okay.
berm is going to be below that to catch anything while I'm working. Any rain happens, it's not going to run off while I'm working.
Gotcha.
So that's really where that line might be adequate. Just make sure you write the description and say that's going to be a rock retaining wall. And then put a dash line or some kind of line indicating where you said you're going to do the mulch berm, just where is it specifically going to be to make sure you're using those contours and you're going up and around the ends a little bit to make sure nothing is, again, running off without hitting that mulch berm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
This is on Upper Narrows, right?
Yeah, it's in a little cove. We're basically as far as you could possibly be from like where the public water is. Because that's kind of on 202.
Doesn't this fall under public waters?
It does. It does.
One and the same now. Okay, it's not resource protection.
Don't leave. Well,
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it is a different zone. And if you look at the print, he's got a whole square that's pink on his maps.
yeah. Look, the public water zone expands basically the shoreland zoning, but it has the same rules. That's our understanding.
All right, go ahead and ask your question. Ask your question. Tell us what you're thinking.
Goes back. That the town set, resource protections. And it's either set by one of three factors.
Right.
That's what you see there, 100.
Um,
To the one where it's different.
Change it, but
we are in resource protection with the 250-foot setback, but
he's in resource protection, which is the 250, which he's into with the new addition
right.
by 14 feet.
It's like, I think like
I think it was
28 feet.
236.
It's like 28 feet.
27
Yeah.
in the
27.
text.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
There you
say it
go.
again.
Thank you.
It says it's 27 feet in the text.
23 feet
Thank
into that 250 feet,
It's going to be 27 feet into the
250 foot.
250.
Then you got
Right.
the expanded drive too. That's, if I'm looking at this right. Close.
It does, but it's still not, so there's a dirt road that actually cuts my property in half that continues down to the neighbors. And that dirt road is just past the 100-foot mark. And then my driveway is another like 50 feet up the hill kind of thing. So, even the front edge of that driveway is still, it's closer to 200 feet
Yeah.
from the waterfront.
Looks
from
like
high
the
mark.
corner of your house actually is closer than.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the existing house is like right on the 250-foot
Right.
mark.
No, it's grandfather, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only questions I had.
You all shut down?
Yeah.
Jamie? Don?
Apologize. Mark was going to be here this evening and he wasn't able to attend. Are you stating that it is in the resource protection and that's building within the 250 of the resource protection? No, okay. Source protection.
And resource protection.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the 250 setback is the resource protection because of the elevation.
We need to
Yeah,
in on that.
got to look at that.
I mean, I think we have to go with Greg. I don't think it is. I don't know.
So what's the consequences of that? Well, if
This
it's-
resource protection, can't change that line at this time, cannot build within 250. No structure can be placed.
So you're short, how many feet?
27.
27 feet.
this is the first time I'm hearing that. I mean, we haven't, I mean, even Elliot was like, no problem. This is like a walk in the park. And
Got one conversation, please. Yeah.
Might not be.
I'm like 90% sure it is. I mean, that was the first, because that was the whole thing with Mr. Arsenal was like, oh, it's just 100 foot. No, it's 250. And then sure enough, we went and looked and it's the pink block. It's all on his maps. So I'm pretty sure and that's why they built that house at the 250 foot mark to stay out of that.
We are back in the fall, we might have said it was 100 feet in resource protection. That's incorrect. Our table was wrong. Our text was right in the ordinance. State guidance says if it's resource protection, it's 250 feet, no building, period.
Okay.
So that's the state law and we have to follow. We can't be more lenient than the state law.
Hmm.
So our table was in error a year ago. When did we fix that?
6 months ago.
Yeah, we fixed it sometime over the winter.
And that was Colin brought it to our attention
Yeah.
from DEP.
Yeah, the state brought it.
We're
to
in
our attention,
violation.
Said that's not 100, that's 250. We said, oops.
So basically what we're saying is he needs to redesign
Yep.
and stay behind the 250.
If it is resource protection, which it sounds like it is, even though our digital map doesn't show it, but if the paper map does, it could just be the overlay on the digital map, but
And you confirmed that it is resource protection.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where the 250
then you've
comes
got to
from
stay, yeah,
for
then you've got to
everything.
stay 250 feet behind that at this time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's gonna make the wife real happy.
So you take that advisement and come back to us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the follow-up question is there any, I mean, can I put an application to the state? Is there anything I can
I mean,
do?
they're the authority on that one, right?
I mean, we had that discussion actually at town council meeting on Monday and your only hope is to show some kind of a hardship and that's very, very, very hard to prove. You get DEP to sign off on that.
Maybe
So-
I can let them take care of the kids for a couple hours?
I guess the question that pops in my mind is the road goes right through that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the
That's
Upper
grandfather.
Narrows Lane.
Grandfathered.
Okay, so that's grandfathered, all right.
That's an access road. That's
So
grandfathered.
if this was changed 6 months ago and I officially started the application with you guys, 8 months ago.
Well, we would have possibly incorrectly approved you, but the state law is the state law and we have to follow the state law. And at some point it may have been caught. So you have two options, redesigning your structure. Now, again, the driveway is not necessarily a problem. The structure itself, no structure can be built within the 250-foot setback on resource protection.
Okay.
Don, you have a question? Something to add?
The site visit was actually in March. I'm just looking at my notes
Oh.
from that meeting. So it was cold and dark.
It was cold, yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely cold.
And I don't have any notes in here about that construction within the 250.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We had it in one place, we didn't have it in the other, right? We had the 250, as Greg's point he just made was, we had it wrong in one place, it was right in another place.
Right. On the table, it said 100 feet.
Yes,
In the text, it said 250, and the state clarified it said it is 250.
It has
So the state law is 250 that we have to follow.
And they required us to change it.
Yeah, and we corrected the table to be 250.
Back to the drawing board, I would say.
I guess so.
Sorry,
All right.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
suggest reaching out to Mark Arsenal when he's out for a couple of days, but when he's back next week, give him a call. Had to.
All right, next one, 104 Memorial Drive. You want to go ahead and explain what you're doing, because some members weren't there.
Hi there. I'm Scott Collins. We're under contract to purchase 104 Memorial Drive, which is in need of some repairs. In doing those repairs, we've included in the packet a redesign, as well as a 30% expansion of the deck, or an addition of a deck that would suffice for the 30% expansion. It's a little less than 30%, but that should get you there. In the packet says floor plans. What else would you like to know?
You're all set? You finished your presentation? You told us what you want to tell us?
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. You
Okay.
tell me what you want. Sorry.
Don? Questions? I can come back to you. Jamie? Go on.
Guess I just have a question. We talked about if they tear the building down completely, they can't rebuild other than 50%. And I guess I'm confused on that.
I think that if I could address, I think that there's a math test that we have just become aware of tonight. So I think we've got to go back and we do have a budget, but it includes things like porta potty rentals and stuff like
I
that.
guess,
So we need
let
to-
me finish.
Oh, sure.
My understanding was that if they tear it down and rebuild, that it's our obligation to make it as conforming as we can. I don't know in this case if we can, because they're already close to the road. This was new where they can't
That
rebuild.
was, yeah, in the state training that they gave us a year and a half ago, well, the requirement that they very clearly said is that if you tear the structure down, you must rebuild it to a conforming structure. So the only way you could build a non-conforming structure back in its place would be to prove hardship.
Yes,
And
new to me. I guess I didn't get the training.
yeah, I can go find the slide and it's an interpretation. And I asked Mark that exact question to have him. And then the second question is, where does that 50% value come from? Does it come from the assessment, appraiser, third party? Because it says current market value of the structure. Well, who determines that and how do we determine that? Because that was my question as the board, is how do we determine that? How does the applicant determine that? We probably should have a method that we're clear about how we determine
I
that.
need some clarity on that one because we've got another case where we're
Yep.
asking the person to move it back, but it's still going to be non-conforming, but it's going to be less non-conforming.
Correct. And the guidance says,
Doesn't that apply here?
well, here there is no way to make it conforming because the entire lot's in shoreland zone.
That person isn't going to make it conforming either.
Well, we have to make them conforming.
Be less conforming. He's going to tear that down.
He can't.
He's talking about the one down behind Augusta Country Club that hadn't been back to us. We keep moving it back.
Right, but we have to make it conforming.
No, I'm not talking about that one.
Oh,
Not talking about.
oh, but that one had the ability to be moved. Yeah, Blackberry Lane, that
Blackberry.
had the ability to be moved back. So that was our recommendation. And their only request was hardship due to, sorry, we're having a little bit of trying to understand the rules a little bit better. That's why we needed our code officer to help us better understand them. So my understanding was in that case, their hardship was they would have to remove their septic. And because the building would be placed on top of it, so they'd have to replace it. We asked them to come back to us with what's the value of that septic? What age is it? How is it built?
Right.
What's the value that we would be proving hardship? Hardship, just like significant, okay, significant, the state defined in the training is 50%. It's not defined in the state ordinance. It says significant improvement. So how do you define significant? In the training, they put down 50%. So that's the number I'm using, but it says
What
50%.
training was this?
It was a training in shoreland zoning.
So who's the authority to tell us what
Yeah,
that
I
is?
guess.
Yeah, it was DEP was putting on the training. And Mark is the one that will confirm that it's significant, but the
That's
significant,
a big change. as
it
far as
is.
I know.
It is a
We've
big,
always said that
Yep.
they
I
can
know.
tear down and rebuild.
I know.
But if it's possible to move them farther back from the lake, then we would require that.
Yep. And the
But in this
state's,
case, they can't move it back.
right, and the state says,
There's
if you-
other cases where we did the same thing.
right,
And for less reasons than that. It
Yep.
was because not wanting to cut a bunch of trees down, we let them build it in place. So something's changed.
yeah,
I don't know. This is news. It's news to me.
Well,
Yeah. it is,
I'll give you another example. Just down the road, they tore down the whole house, the foundation 2 summers ago and haven't been back. They got a demo permit to do that. So
They do have room to move it back, but they're not.
Not
gonna move it
much.
Back 100 feet.
they are gonna move it back 100 feet, right?
But before, we would approve that.
What I'm talking about,
I know.
they can't move very far either. And so I guess to resolve it, to help these folks, we're talking about referring it to Mark to, Don, you correct me if I'm wrong, but Mark needs to tell us what that definition is.
That's something new. We should have been trained on it.
My understanding, and I am not the code enforcement officer, which is why Mark will be coming in the future, is that you all are the entity that if it's moved back to the greatest extent practical.
And,
Yeah.
and it's not moving.
Article 294, reconstruction or replacement. Again, I'm not the code enforcement officer.
So you said Mark's gone a week?
Sorry?
Mark's out?
Who's out today?
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
Not sure. So what's the other resource we have to ask that question? Colin?
Is who I would call.
And can you do that? Okay. So what we decided, we need to find the authority that has the definition, as Greg's asking, and Don's asking, of what that is. Do you need to leave some part of that building? Can you tear it all down and replace it? We need to have that definition from at least the DEP and Mark, our code enforcement officer. So Don's going to take that as next. I'm sorry.
It contradicts itself. I'll show you the passage. I've got it. It contradicts itself. That's why I wanted Mark's clarification on it. Those paragraphs are in there. Yes, you're absolutely right. Our ordinance says that.
Yeah.
You're correct. The state ordinance is what I'm citing. So we can't contradict the state. Our ordinance is incorrect. Yes. Yes. And we can't do that. That's my understanding is we need to address our ordinance because it doesn't talk about significant improvement.
That's what we've been,
I know. I
up until
I
now,
agree with
that's
you.
what we've been using. That's
Yep.
why I didn't question what they were
Yep.
doing.
Apparently,
I think this is more of an interpretation of the existing state law. Our ordinance says what it says, but unfortunately our ordinance is wrong because we're not conforming to state law.
Leaving, one thing.
so I'm going to
Yeah, I
ask
believe it.
Don to ask for feedback from Colin and Mark
Correct, I will do that.
and make sure these folks are aware of it, whatever it is, and that share with the board what it is. So we all get on the same place.
And
And it's either what we have in our ordinance or it's what the state dictates. That's the two choices, right?
I'll check with Colin, I'll check with Mark, and I just want to remind you that the state, the map in the shoreline zoning with conditions, and we went over them 2 meetings ago. So there are still some changes and corrections that need to be made. And Colin has called them out and we need to still go through and make those adoptions, but I will check with him, I will check with Mark, and I will communicate with the applicant.
But the applicant, based on our information package and talking to them on site, the one thing they are missing is their change in impervious cover. So we need their existing numbers and their proposed new numbers. So that's a need beyond the interpretation of what they can do to the structure.
I'd like to finish going around the room and
Okay.
make sure we
You're
all
gonna
have
go.
all that
Okay.
feedback for these
Okay.
folks, so they have the benefit of whatever knowledge we have.
Okay.
So they aren't at this 6 times. So where did I leave off? Don, did I leave
yeah,
off? with you?
I, hopefully when you do that, Don, that you'll show him the way our ordinance is and see if he agrees that that comes.
Colin, you're talking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So where was I? I was going this way. Don, you were the
I'm
last
done.
speaker. You all set, Don? Betty? Great.
No, just,
I was going, huh?
Back.
Where's going back?
Greg, anything else?
impervious cover, and then,
You understood what that was, right? We had that discussion at the site about.
We did, and you guys helped us.
Yeah.
So can I relay the way I interpreted that?
Sure.
We went through and we measured everything. What you're asking us to do is take, say, some of the driveway and apply it to the deck.
So what you need to do is take your existing lot as it is right now and say, what's our impervious cover? And that's going to be measuring.
29%.
Right, that's the roof, that's the driveways, and just put a sketch together and say, and it can be a hand sketch, just showing, here's where the numbers land.
Yep, we can email that to you
Right?
tonight.
That gives you where you're at now.
Mhm.
And whatever you decide to change or modify, you cannot go bigger than that number.
Got it.
So that's, and
It's
how
very
you
simple.
take that out, you
Understood.
take out whatever you want to take out and add whatever you want to
Very
add.
simple. Yep.
And then the other piece that I just wanted to highlight was you cannot make the structure more non-conforming. So by adding that addition, you cannot go closer to the water.
Yeah. And I
And
think
you-
we had measured that
and I-
and that is not the case.
And I'm just making sure to cite that and to make sure you understand like the setback from the property line, that would be non-conforming. I think if you're just adding that deck, that may be fine, but I just want to make sure you understand some of the rules that trip people up is the side setbacks, the water setback.
I appreciate
These are
it.
sometimes things that get missed.
Okay, and relative to measurements, I took those measurements for our benefit. You need to make sure you take those measurements for your benefit.
Okay.
Remeasure them.
All right.
Make sure you're in compliance. They won't hold me accountable, they'll hold you accountable.
Wow.
And I think in your documentation, you did document elevations. That was a first floor elevation relative to floodplain. I think you did that in your measurements. And I think what Greg is saying is that if you want that 12 by 20 deck, that's additional impervious. So you got to somehow replace that. And you got opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a simple ask of you
I think
guys.
so.
Yeah, I agree. You know,
White? Steven?
No question.
Okay. Questions of us? Anything we didn't cover?
what are the next steps of this?
Okay, first, just talk about the process. You had asked Dawn to be on the agenda tonight. You had talked to Anthony about being on the agenda tonight. I made the decision to have you on the agenda tonight. My perspective is you don't own the land yet. So technically, we cannot approve an application until you own that land. We can advise you on what your needs are and what you need to be looking at. And we got a fairly big one we just surfaced, what relative to the 50% versus complete replacement. We got to solve that for you. We got to give you an answer.
Yeah.
And you understand that.
Absolutely.
And so what you've got is the benefit of our knowledge, our interpretation, and our feedback on what you're trying to do. And as you understand, it's a totally non-conforming and it's a special case. As I said, there's one further down the road from you. We don't know what they're up to. We do know what they're doing, but we don't know what they want to do. So any questions of us?
None right now.
Okay.
So as far as next steps going forward, does somebody call me or do we just kind of sit and wait?
Dawn
to
is
hear
going,
from you?
no, Dawn's going to get back to you on that feedback or that interpretation or that definition of that key piece. The other pieces that we've talked about is up to you. Like the impervious
Yeah,
versus
that's,
non-impervious.
I'll
That's
have
up
that to
to
you tonight.
you.
Yeah,
Have
that's simple.
feedback on that.
Yeah.
The piece I understand you don't have is that interpretation of that 50% versus total replacement.
right.
And we owe that to you.
Yep.
And if Don doesn't get back to you in what, Don? A week?
Could at least check with Bullen, if I can get a hold of him by the middle of next.
Well, that's the conflict, right? Is we know what ours says. We know what our ordinance says. We don't know what Colin's perspective is on it. And Colin's at DEP, by the way.
I can reach out to him. I can reach out to him tomorrow, but I just can't say when I'll have.
Yeah. I tell you what, let's do it this way. Dawn, you're in Tuesday? You're in
I-
Tuesday,
Tuesday, I work remotely, but I am
but you're here Tuesday.
not physically. If you need me to be, I can.
No. What day are you here that they can stop in? Monday. Monday, stop in and check with, are you here Monday?
I got to travel an hour, 3.5 hours to get here. Happy to come up anytime. I've come up
Then call
a
her.
dozen times.
Call her.
Yeah, the phones don't work here.
You have an extension, don't you?
I think when it rings, there's no voicemail. It's I've left messages. I don't get return calls. I've sent emails.
How do you want them to handle it?
The phone numbers I called today, those weren't local.
You called me, I pick it up. So anytime you call me, I'll pick it up, but
I'll call you on Monday and give you the status.
that sounds great.
So that's Monday? Monday, you're going to call him? Okay, we'll do it that way. Thank you for sharing the barriers with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, folks. Other business?
Did we want to summarize the town council meeting?
I do.
To do that, and then I also have, I have some materials to hand out really related to that. If I could do that real quick. I have a
Yep, whichever way you want to go. I just,
draft agenda. And what I've done is I've just put items on here as a result of the council meeting and other directives from the state. So we're talking about the shore area map. I'll let you give the update on that. That needs to be, I talked to Wendy from the Cawasee Watershed District, so they are anticipating that they will participate in that discussion. And I told her it would not be this meeting. I thought it would be next, but I was going to check with you all. So I mentioned the DEP changes. We did go over them at a previous meeting, but you don't have anything in writing in terms of incorporated into your ordinance. So I have to get that to you. And we have to make those changes and get the council to approve them and send them back to Colin. We were in the course of discussions of first floor commercial uses on Main Street, and we were going to have the public hearing. And I only say we were, I want you to confirm if we're going to do this on the 22nd. So commercial uses on Main Street, notifying the property owners that we looked at the map at recently. We have LD 2173, which is regarding density that we've talked about a number of times. That deadline was extended until 2027, but I just want to make sure, sooner is better. We don't want to wait.
for that one in particular, Dawn, just wanted to clarify, the state made a correction to that? And do we have that now?
We do.
Okay.
I do have that
We can talk about that with the correction.
with the correction, and we're in the process of doing a build-out analysis for you all to use as a tool. So we want that to happen concurrently.
We don't think the state's going to make another revision to that, right? I'd hate to,
Not that I'm aware
and
of.
then the state changes their mind again, but I just thought I would ask that.
Yeah, there isn't any talk of that at
Okay,
the time.
that's all I was looking for is,
And then on Monday, the town council talked about residential care facility moratorium and a data center moratorium. Now, the residential care facility moratorium was extended for 180 days. We knew we weren't really going to be able to get to that in the first 180, and they have the ability to extend it, which they did. So we're in the second 6 months of that. The data center moratorium, that's new. So if we didn't finish that in 6 months, the council could extend it for another 6 months.
They did vote?
yes.
They did on Monday. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 time-sensitive topics. Actually, the first floor commercial is time-sensitive from the perspective that if it's not in place, someone could come in and develop, the ground floor of all the properties on Main Street as residential.
We all set?
Yep, I just am looking for some feedback on that. I also have to hand out to you some maps for when you do discuss the shoreline. So this is a draft map, Rick, that Turner had printed for us, and this was the separation of the shoreland layers.
Go on.
Yeah, and I did stamp it draft. So I didn't hand it out in advance. I didn't want to distract people, but I do have that if you want me to hand it out to people to have in anticipation of future discussion of that. And then I also have the draft land use map, which was discussed, the color and all that at our previous meeting of just regarding mapping, our little subcommittee. So I didn't want to hand those out and distract people unless you would like me to hand them out. But that would be in anticipation of discussing the mapping at the next meeting of the 22nd or wherever you decide to put that.
So before Greg goes through a review, I appreciate that. And Greg, I appreciate everything. And I appreciate Don being there last Monday night. And Greg also, and appreciate all the work you did in terms of presenting and getting feedback. We had several items on the agenda, and I just want to go down and make sure I'm up to speed on what we did. And what I'm looking at is a public hearing notice. And the first one on the first item was amend the official zoning map, and that was the Boot Grove Lane lots and whatnot. And we'll come back to that one. That one got tabled, with some recommendations to meet with Wendy and Bill at Carbocy Watershed. I'm moving down to the zoning ordinance amendment to Article 4, 12G, off-street parking and loading. I believe that one passed, correct?
Passed.
So that one's passed. Next one down was amendment to Article 4, 13D, Route 202 development. To clarify the standards of this section applying to all property with frontage on 202, and that a vegetative buffer is required to establish if none is present. That one got tabled.
That got tabled.
To me, the hanging point was about future versus present. And some of the verbiage here is what I think tied up, but the intent was on future applications, correct?
Right. And then also, there was some concern about the word vegetated, adding the word vegetated.
You added the vegetated.
Is it, yes, it said buffer, but it didn't specify.
So we'll come back to that one when Doug does his summary. Just a second, please. Amendment 2, Article 3, 11, Table 2, to allow by planning board conditional use permit within the village female domesticated birds raised meat and eggs production, excluding fully mature male chickens. That one passed, right?
Passed.
That one passed. And then the solar energy ordinance, all the changes we made with the exception of approved to 10, recommendation 6, right?
Yep.
And that one is tabled until, no, they approved it with that condition. So that one's approved, we have to make that change. They continue the moratorium on residential care facilities. And the ordinance established a moratorium on data centers. Those passed, right? So, Greg, go ahead.
That's what I had in my notes. So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, not at all. I said the resident care facility, they did give us some guidance. There's hopefully some state guidance coming on data centers. We've already got a lot of ideas on data centers. We've discussed some of that when we did the solar, so I'm not as worried about developing a draft ordinance or circulating that with this group. That's pretty manageable. Where the big question that I know Rick and I and Don were all sitting there like, can you help us out with residential care facilities? Like, what are you looking for? And they gave us a few tidbits, but I wouldn't say black and white guidance. So I think we're going to have to possibly hash that out a little bit about what they're looking specifically for definitions. I want to make sure we don't try to over define everything. You guys, I think, know my opinion on over defining because we call it something and then somebody comes in and says, oh, it's something else. And now it's not defined. So we want to make sure to lean into our small, medium and large business commercial development because there's a lot of controls in those three. So we want to make sure that we're leaning into those as well as possibly defining, what is a second step program? What is an addicts recovery center? I want to be careful we don't get carried away with definitions. But they were specifically asking for definitions. So we have to at least kind of think about those. Maybe the state has some definitions. Maybe there's some, so maybe we want to lean into some of the existing definitions without trying to create our own. But they gave us a little bit of guidance, but they clearly, just so everybody knows, they clearly wanted nursing homes and they were they don't want to lose the opportunity for nursing homes. So one of the reasons they put the moratorium in place was they were worried the existing facility that could be reestablished as a nursing home would be taken over by one of these other uses. So that was their immediate concern, is that they would lose the ability to reestablish that nursing home. So that was an important piece, I think, of their discussion, just so you know why the moratorium was in place and they've extended it to allow us more time, because that wasn't our highest priority, but now we have some guidance. So now we can work on a draft. I think.
And that's one they gave us 90 more days on, right?
Yeah, 90 or.
And your example of small, medium, large was on the residential care facilities, right? Versus the moratorium on data centers.
Yeah,
It was that one you were using that
Yes,
example.
I was trying to say, we already have existing small, medium, large commercial, and any secondary care facility would be a commercial facility. So whether they take payment or get paid from the state or however they get paid, it's a paid facility. It's commercial.
I thought Greg outlined a good approach to start with, and that was what we currently have for structure, about analyzing sizes of facilities and whatnot, and see how that works, and then go from there in terms of what we.
Yeah, so that's where we'll hopefully lean on the state or others to basically help us get started. So my thought was I was going to do a little bit of a literature search. Data centers, the state's going to come up with something. Supposedly a couple of towns have written something. I can search around, see what I can find, and Dawn can do the same. And if we potentially, yeah, Virginia's got killed with data centers, and I think when we've been talking, our biggest concern is if a data center goes in, they use 100% of the power in that area. CMP has to allow that. But then the next time somebody wants to develop that area, they're the ones on the hook to expand capacity. So, because you're allowed to use up to 100%, but you can't exceed it. So I want this much power, and they can get that much power. And that means if a subdivision or some land wants to be developed and they don't have the capacity, they wouldn't have the ability to do that. So thinking about like the Sturtevant Hill Road where they did the expansion of the power line and they had to pay for that because they had, even though those lines come from two directions, they didn't have to, now they have the ability to do an interconnection. So that's actually an advantage for CMP, even though they're not interconnected right now, but they could. So
You all set with your summary?
I think so. It seems like you hit everything, and some of these we have to discuss more. So, but I think, yeah.
We'll come back to those.
Yep.
Don, you want to add anything from Monday night?
No, that pretty well covers it.
You all set? Okay, so that said, Andy, you're waving your hand over there. Get up the mic, please. Go to the mic. Sorry. We got to hear you.
Where the mic?
Send the bill to Andy.
How much is that gonna cost me?
Still working. That's good.
All right, speaking of the town council, there was some concern expressed of, specifically what is a vegetative buffer? At least one councilor interpreted a vegetative buffer as something that would block the view of a business from the highway, which makes no sense at all. Anyone that wants to build a business, whether it's a factory or a food distribution center, or an ice cream shop, is going to want people, they build it on the highway location because they want to see it. So vegetative buffer, we need to be careful that it can't be interpreted in the future as a way to hide a business. That was a concern. And then there was some small concern expressed with the using the new maps, and it's just a small project on the Boot Cove Lane that, actually, I think it was one of the board members that said this was a pilot project and might set a precedent. Okay. And at least one council member said that, we ought to wait until we've got everything plotted out so we see what kind of an impact these changes are going to have. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Did you folks have anything to add? I'm sorry I didn't call on you. Okay. You want to know how to get on the agenda? Dawn's your contact.
See how it's. I'm happy to work with you. You want to reach out to me by phone or email? I'll make sure to, there'll be. I might ask him to watch the tape. Tomorrow I work between 10 and 6. Call me anytime.
You have their contact information? Do you have their contact?
I don't. Actually, would you mind?
It's on the form?
Beautiful. There's an extension on there. Yeah, I don't know if it's because of his phone, because I do get messages. Yeah, email's probably a better. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to hold you up. Okay, so thank you. So, thank you. Going back to the items we reviewed, the solar energy system, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a simple fix to change 10 to 6 based on what.
We just have to change, so the board's aware, they changed the total number of systems from 10 to 6 and it's approved.
With
That
them.
was the board's.
Any
that
action
was
we
the
need to do?
council's Determination.
I
I don't
believe
think
that,
there's anything else we can do, right? They approved it.
I believe that's
As
the
is
case.
With that one change.
Okay, so there's no action there, it's done. All right.
Yes, we're grandfathered above that number now, because there's 10 active ones, or 10. that
Oh,
we think
total,
are
right,
gonna
but
be
2.
built.
Yep.
Correct.
Got to go down to 5 before we take on another project.
That was their numbers.
All right, so that's all set. Dawn, you've noted that, they're going to change the ordinance, and that's done.
We'll give you the copy when the clerk finalizes it. I'll give you a new copy.
And we can put it in our book and all that good stuff. So I'm going back to amend the official zoning map. This is Boot Cove Lane, which the board all approved to go forward to the council. I sense all said and done, the direction we got from the council was to meet with Cobbage Watershed, Wendy and Bill Monagle, and hammer out the verbiage for what that should say. That said, that discussion started with the extreme of do nothing with it to basically, and you guys jump in and tell me if I'm wrong, but basically, Wendy's recommendation was to make it shoreland zone, including the slope to the top of the slope and another 100 feet would be
Resource
all
protection.
shoreland zone. Pardon?
Resource protection.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Shoreland.
I'm wrong. Resource protection.
Yeah.
Yes. So whatever that slope is, go to the top of it, you add 100 feet, that's resource protection. That was Wendy's recommendation, all said and done. So I think the choice, and that direction came from the council. The second thing that the chairman wanted was another diagram showing the delineation of what that looks like. Now, Greg had put together that yellow and red, the one we're all familiar with. We shared that with the council. The chairman wanted something more detailed. That said, the juncture we're at right now is, my opinion, is do we as a board look at it again and say, do nothing? Or do we meet with the Cobbage Watershed and go forward with the verbiage for that recommendation of the slope plus 100 feet? Greg, add it?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a little bit more complicated than that because like they said, it does vary the amount of buffer you want to give it. So do we really make this really complicated and vary the buffer? And I didn't bring this up in the meeting because I figured I'd blow their minds, but that's the reality, right? Is so at a 20% slope, we shouldn't be building because it offers no protection. Well, 15 to 20% slope offers very limited protection. So do we just say, if the slope stays at 15 to 20%, we're going to go 200 feet back from where it switches from 20%. Now we go back 200 feet and build that in. Then when the slope goes between 10 and 15%, we go and put a 100-foot buffer in. And then when the slope goes maybe from 10 to 5, we put a 75 feet. From 5 to 0, we put a 50 feet. And when it goes negative, we say we're going to put a 10-foot buffer in just to save because it slopes. And no matter how we do this, right, the complication that I had is whatever we come up with, whether that's 100 feet, whether it's my algorithm I just kind of explained and you're like, I don't understand, it's okay. I didn't expect you to. I just more wanted to say really to make it more correct. that's the way you should apply it, is to say, given the slope of the land from the water surface to where they're potentially building, how big should that resource protection be? So that's another factor. The bottom line is, do we build in that buffer into resource protection?
What currently does the state do?
Currently, what the state has done is they looked at the USGS topo map, and if it had an area that was over a 20% slope, they just pushed it to 250 and basically drew the line. And as Dwight and I have both noticed, there's areas that are wrong. I mean, there's just plain areas. There is nothing over 20 feet and it exists. And there's areas with 25% slope with no resource protection. So the bottom line is, because they did it on 10-foot contour maps that are inaccurate, the existing maps are wrong. So do we go and try to fix that? And in my mind, do we fix it correctly? I don't have a problem talking with the Cobussy watershed, but I think the bottom line is state of Maine hasn't really caught up. And that tool is, the tool that I showed, the slope map, is really only about 11 months old. I actually went and looked at the date. It's not old, it's brand new. So I don't know if DEP even knows it exists. I don't know if they know how to apply it. I don't know if they know much about it. So there's not a lot of people that are aware that exists, and I don't know of anybody that's applying it. So then there's the secondary consideration is resource protection is more than just the slope. Okay, we need to get the information from the state and the other coverage maps. What is in resource protection? Is there any endangered plants? What is that buffer? So that we can make sure resource protection is correctly mapped. I know it is. It's multiple things. And
By the
yeah.
way.
Yeah, and again, it's if there's any endangered plants and there's even archaeological things that are resource protection. The resource protection is covered by a lot of different things. So getting input from KV-COG and having them start to tackle this, and it's clear the town council did not want to do one little tiny piece. So maybe we have to do an entire water body or try to propose the whole town. I'm concerned about trying to do the whole town because I think it's going to be complicated and there's going to be some corrections, especially like Cobussy where there's islands, and that becomes really weird and complicated and gets kind of funky.
Fun.
So
Just want to make, for part of your conversation, Turner, is the person at KV-COG we're working with now, Joel is the director now. He is currently, there's A through E elements of resource protection when you're talking about slopes versus, so he is mapping that. And it's part of our membership, it turns out. It's not a separate contract or
Okay.
cost. So for townwide, he is in the process of working on that.
is he drawing the slope?
I am not sure.
What were these eight different reasons why it would be resource?
Through E and under resource protection, it
Yeah.
defines it. So like slopes is one
Yeah.
part, floodplains is one part, wetlands associated with a river. There's different elements. So where we have a 250-foot line, not necessarily clear what aspect of the definition of resource protection applies to that property. So that was one of the things my understanding was that we were going to sort out. But I want to specifically mention, in addition to that project is started, and I was under the impression that was what the board wanted to do, is that I talked to Wendy Dennis today and I talked to Rory, the town councilor. I just want to convey what their thoughts were. Wendy, she called to see if it was on tonight's agenda, and I told her it was not, that the council had asked us to meet with them, being the Cumberland Cobussy Watershed District, and that it would be at a future meeting. So I just want to note that she's not aware we're having this discussion. She had noted that it would be helpful to have more defined LiDAR data. And then she had a few suggestions. I didn't realize this, but there's a shoreland zone and within that are districts. So the resource protection is actually a district within the shoreland zone. It may or may not be semantics. It just came to my attention, but she had a few ideas for clarification within the ordinance that probably won't affect, the map, but she just had some insight. But she did suggest more defined LiDAR data, and there is an expectation that we will, at least I will be talking to them, and that they anticipate coming to the board. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then Roy, highlighted, he wanted me to convey to you that the thing that he wanted to see was that between shoreline and resource protection, because there was just this discussion about this 100 feet, is it a setback? Is it actually resource protection? And what is the difference? So I was thinking a table showing resource protection shoreline and what the different elements of that, how the land is affected by the different zones. But he would like something like that for when you go back.
Right.
So I just want that to be part of your
And
conversation.
it was clear just from the Cobussy watershed conversation, just so you guys are kind of up to speed. Wendy was suggesting from the Cobussy watershed, we should apply a blanket fixed width and that we can extend that anywhere in the shoreland zone. We can extend it out to shoreland zone to cover resource protection anytime we want. But Roy, one of the counselors, was very clear, we don't want to do that. We don't want to make it so that we're taking, and we don't want to apply a generic number to a region, which is basically what we have, just so you know, is what was done on our existing maps. The counselors were very clear, we don't want to do that. If the line does go in or the line does go out, we should make it go in or out, and we should be able to figure out. And then there was a little bit of a discussion about adoption, complications for the code officer, other things. Again, with our digital maps, now with the digital map viewer, we really should almost make that a mandatory item, Dawn. Put that as a note, please, if possible, that they go to our parcel viewer and print off their property so that we actually have that here, so we know what zone they're in, where the line is, all of that, so that we're not sitting here like we were tonight wondering, are they in resource protection? The maps are there. It's all, the phone doesn't work as well as the laptop. You can do the different layers better on the laptop or on a computer. So if they did that, I think that would be very helpful for our application process. So, but that was sort of the discussion, just so you know, is that I think we have to first make sure we're covering everything. So we were kind of focused on the slope on that one area. And I think that's one thing, is we need to be more thorough in considering all of the other resource protection factors.
Don, anything to add?
I just think at this point, that particular parcel, if we do anything there, I think we're opening a can of worms.
Question is,
What if,
is it going to help them build the property or not?
I don't think we can do that. And based on,
Anything different?
but based on Dawn and the timeline that we're talking about, I think KV Cog is going to be able to get us something this fall. And sorry to the property owner, the council said no. We're not, I don't feel like it's worthwhile to present something on that parcel to the town council again, no matter what we do. I think we need to present townwide, or at least a whole water body as an example, with all of these factors laid out with a little bit better clarification. I think they'd be more receptive to basically understanding that it's not a parcel we're doing, it's
It's still
water
my
body.
it's still my turn.
Yes.
Oh, okay. What I was going to say is, next person that comes along with a similar situation, let's say, and I don't know if I agree that they said the distance to the top of that ridge with the high water was 100 feet, remember right? And they wanted to build right on the edge. What if the next person comes along, he's got a lot, maybe it's only 50 feet, and he's going to want 100 feet from that and build 150 feet. There's got to be a reason we got that 250 feet in there and start making these exceptions. I got to thinking about this. I said, that's a can of worms. Plus you got all these other things that designate it as a resource protection other than slope. So
Well, that's why we need to know those other things and draw the line
Yeah.
correctly. And then we can decide if we want to put a buffer in. And I mean, it's not something bad to necessarily think about. If slope is the driving factor, how much of a buffer do you need?
yeah,
That's a good question. I don't know what the right number is, and it's going to vary on the site, the terrain, the soil type. And do we just say, okay, we're going to use the state? I mean, we could make that call as a board and say, we're going to recommend that they do it to 250, period. Nothing gets built within the 250, period. Just because that's going to provide, if there's any slope over 20%.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, that's part of, I think, our discussion with Cobussy watershed.
Don, you all set? You done? Well, the other thing Don and I talked about today was the trees. We haven't even talked about the trees. With that, our understanding within that resource protection zone, there's no cutting trees. unless there's a safety issue. And that,
If it's a resource protection for slope,
correct.
right.
We agree. We agree.
I'm just saying resource protection is bigger than that, which is.
And I understand
something we
that,
have
but
to
I'm
make
talking
sure
about
for slope,
specifically
yes.
slope.
Yeah.
And it's very, very strict about cutting trees, and rightfully so. There's a reason for that.
Well, even if it's not for slope, if it's in resource protection, you can't cut trees, right?
Yeah.
And I guess we should keep using Boot Cove Road as an example, but you and I we went out again today and looked at it, just for our edification and understanding. And there's not much buildable there, not much area that is buildable, no matter how you slice it.
But the interesting thing was I looked at that map and it does go, that steep slope does extend about 160 feet in just north of that property we looked at.
Yep.
And if we added 100 feet to that, that would push them back and say, now resource protection's 250 to 260 feet.
Yeah.
And there might be other areas on that
Exactly.
water body that's the case. So do we want to limit it to 250 everywhere and then push it out where it needs to be out and truly make it resource protection? But that's, again, something we have to kind of discuss when we see a map, I think.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't bring this up at the town council meeting because the meeting was getting long.
You're not going to
And
say
this whole subject is
spot
really,
zoning, are you? You're not going to say spot zoning, are you?
what's that?
You're not going to say spot zoning, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay, go ahead.
That was an argument for just
No,
doing
go
that
ahead.
little
Go ahead.
parcel. No, but one concern, there was some folks that said, why not just draw a straight line? Because it's easier and less complicated. I said, you need to be very careful about the enforceability. You're going to go along and you're going to have these lots going in and out. How do you enforce all that? And then there was a question of whether the town's maps, however they're created, and then you have a licensed surveyor that doesn't agree with the map, which way do you go? Then the other question is, you're going to have one lot that the slope is, top of the slope's 100-foot back, and then suppose on the other two lots, the slope is, and I didn't bring this up to council meeting, the slope is 200 feet back. Well, what's going to happen is, you're going to have a house here, you're going to have a house in here, then you're going to have a house out here, and all the runoff from the two back properties is going to run onto the closer, lower piece of property, and that's going to cause another erosion problem all in of itself. You're going to have property owners warring with each other about, which way they sent the water.
By the way, you just described the lots that we were talking about changing the zone on. What you just described is what's there. As far as the houses back and forth
Yeah.
relative to the road and the slope,
Yeah.
that's what's going on there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that you have a house, and then the next two are pushed back and elevated on either side. Where's the water gonna go? There's no way you can force those residents to make the water go straight down the lake. It's gonna go sideways.
You all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so I guess I will take responsibility for pushing this one. I look back on it, I think I drove the board in that direction. And I guess my recommendation, based on all the input, is that we table this matter until we get more data, more mapping, more tools relative to doing that, and do it wholesale, not within a certain area. I thought we were taking a simple area and starting there to learn from it, but it's turned into a mess. So my recommendation, if it's in order, is for the board to go ahead and basically table action on this particular item. Could we get far better priorities to work on? I don't think we're ready for this one, frankly. And that's what Greg was saying. So I'll entertain a motion to table it. And when we think we have, I mean, again, it's in our priorities because we said when we did the mapping, we wanted to look at the town and start looking at making it more accurate, determining where things need to be changed, and responding to individual parties with individual property issues and looking at what those issues are and resolving them. Because we knew when we did the digitizing, we opened that door to allow that to happen. And so we have one applicant that we don't have an answer for. We do have an answer. It's a protected zone. And I remember Don and I talked about this months and months and months ago, this same property and the problems we're going to have with it. And guess what? We did. So I'll entertain a motion to table it.
I will, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we table any efforts to redefine the resource protection line at this time. And we will notify the Cobbossee Watershed District that we've tabled the item and that it's not going to be discussion on our next meeting.
I hear a second. Betty seconded. Around the room. Jamie, questions?
I think we had good intentions.
One?
No, I agree with it. I agree with it.
Greg?
I agree.
Good. Nothing more to add?
Nope.
I'm just kidding. Dwight,
We'll be discussing this.
in a bigger picture.
Yep.
In a bigger picture, yep. That's the one Turner's working on, right? Yep. Yeah, he had a fairly tight time frame on getting it to us.
He does, and I apologize because I haven't
I want to say 6 months, but
sent it to you, so
I had 6 months in my head, but
I believe that it was roughly, yeah, within.
yeah. When we met with him. Wait, that answer your question? Steven?
Yeah, I'm in favor of tabling it. I'm not clear on what we're discussing anyway, so.
You will become very clear.
Glad you missed the hour and a
Yeah.
half discussion, hour and a half discussion at town council. So just so you know.
You have anything to add? All in favor? Unanimous. No opposition. Thank you, folks. We tried, we learned, we move on. The next item going down was that Article 4, 13D Route 202 development. My sense was that was just some verbiage change. Is that correct, Dawn? That was the future buffer strips on 202.
Oh,
And I don't think it was well understood that we were talking about future. It was everybody currently there has to do something relative to buffer strips.
The only change that was significant was that where it applies, because it currently doesn't apply anywhere. And I do believe that was an oversight when there were map amendments.
Would you
Can-
take some time and just read it? And you understand what the feedback was?
But they had, Mr. Chairman, they had 2 points. One, Don brought up the point that it doesn't apply anywhere because it's intended to be applied to 202. And when we rewrote it, added the word vegetated, and they clearly had issues with that. So I think the question is twofold. Number one, do we go back, take out vegetated and say, put it back in the way it was supposed to? But they clearly had issues with having any buffer strip. So do we just leave it alone? The state DOT, that's 202, they require a buffer strip. If you look at TJ's and the other places, they mandated that they put that in and change their curb cut based on their new driveway. So anybody with a new commercial has to go back to them. The only question is, do we want to add that? We had this question for Ropers. They've changed the size of their building so they didn't have to do a curb cut and any kind of corrections. Do we want to mandate that they do it no matter what, if possible? Well, the first one is, I don't think, vegetated was like the word they didn't like. The second point was it only really applies to 202. And but that was the way it was written. We didn't change that word. They were just upset that I'm like, no, that was in the ordinance like that. That was there. They were thinking, is it retroactive? Is it not? But the point being, they didn't like the idea of 25 feet. Is that too much? There was enough discussion for me. My interpretation was the board is not going to approve that. Even if it was intended to be approved at some point in the past, the town council is not going to approve that as written.
So is your recommendation to leave it alone?
My recommendation is to drop it entirely.
So it doesn't apply anywhere in town.
And then I said, just the next time we do an update, we remove it. It doesn't apply anywhere in town. We remove it from the ordinance.
Don't want to look at access management on Route 202. You just want to leave it up to the state.
And that would be the only question we would the only thing I think our board could discuss is, do we want to do that for smaller access to 202? Again, the state has a certain criteria. If you have a certain number of visitors, what is it, 100 visitors an hour or something like,
Increased by 100.
yeah, then you, all of a sudden you cross this threshold. And Roper's specifically made their building smaller because they base it on the size of the building. So they made their building smaller. So then they went to 900 per day and that worked out to be less than 100 per hour. So they didn't have to go to DOT. Do we want to just say, I don't know if DOT would do that, if they would actually do anything. And I don't,
So they don't require a full-blown DOT permit if they don't reach that threshold. So I don't know how we would monitor.
Yeah,
access
I don't think we
management
could-
Doesn't need DOT.
yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Can I know where this is? Where in our ordinance is this? I don't know
Oh,
what we're
Are
talking.
you recommending we drop it? Is
To know.
I
that a motion?
it is, Mr. Chairman, I'll let Jamie find it, but
Listen to what.
I
you
will-
But I'm like, I'm.
it's, sorry, he's reading the town council notes, so he has the actual notes. What is the?
It's 31.
Okay, I see. Point 6.
Article 4, 13D.
13D. And Don's saying that doesn't apply anywhere. So I would say we put that as a note, as a correction to the town ordinance. So I would like to make a motion that we remove that because it doesn't apply anywhere in town. It doesn't apply anywhere in town. And as written, the town council doesn't want to approve it. I don't think it's something that should be a high priority for us for right now. I think we just fix the ordinance and remove it.
Well, I guess I would say you advise the council like I advise you, right? Then they make their own decision. Is it advisable to have no access management?
But we don't have one now. That doesn't apply to 202.
No, but you could still make the recommendation and then they don't take the action. But it sounds like you're saying, well, it's not important.
I don't think it's as high a priority for us to spend our time on.
What was the point of it being in the ordinance?
What?
To make it so it's not like a.
Access management, you've got a lot of through traffic at a
Yeah.
relatively high speed.
Yeah.
And there are dangerous points on that road because you start taking turning movements in the speed. Is there a suicide lane? I shouldn't have used that word, but you control the curb cuts so that the curb cuts are minimized. There isn't a lot of turning movement where there doesn't need to be, so that they're aligned across from each other, so that the turning movements are aligned so that they're safer. You're trying to keep the traffic moving through and safer.
But Don, we do have control over the traffic for that. Any commercial property that's medium or large must come to us and it include a traffic study, period. That's right in our ordinance. So we already have control over that. So they have to do a traffic study for their new business, period.
So I'll entertain a motion.
You see what I'm saying?
I do. I see what you're saying.
It's already covered in our 14 points. They have to do a traffic study and what we require might be different if they're going on to 202 versus side street.
To me,
Making
it's
a
a
motion.
question of being
No,
equitable.
we're going to stop a discussion. We're going to make a motion.
I'm going to make a motion. Oh,
I want to just.
We're going to discuss in a minute. We're going to make a motion first.
I would like to make a motion that Article 4, Section 13D, Route 202 development be removed from our ordinance as a correction the next time we do an update, because the town council didn't approve it. So my recommendation is to remove it because it doesn't apply right now anywhere in the town of Winthrop. And we already control traffic underneath our conditional use permit.
Are you a second?
I'll second.
Don seconded. Now we have discussion. Stephen,
No comment.
we'll get to you in a minute. Dwight. Greg, anything further? Betty? She's going to get a turn. She's going to get a turn. You have any questions? Don? Jamie, now you can speak.
Comment till I hear what Dawn has to say.
Okay, so we're going to come back to you.
Maybe.
So I agree that the board has a lot of ability to look at plans under the conditional use criteria, under the requirement for a traffic study, but there are no design elements. There's no required 35-foot, maximum width of driveway with the turning radiuses being a certain, there's no design criteria. So how do you apply that equitably from one property to another? And if the traffic study comes in, then, and they have a design, how are you going to say that design is adequate? Is it going to be based on their traffic study, their engineer? Are you going to do a peer review? It's just hard to apply even-handedly.
I completely agree with you, but listening to the town council, seeing them vote, we have no hope of approving it. There was no consensus on the town council, and they clearly did not want any kind of buffer or limiting curb cuts. They used Capreras and a number of other existing properties with no curb cuts, very, very wide access points as examples, and they said they're not going to change. So if they're not going to change, they don't want to apply it. I think the only thing we can do is say anything new, they have to do a traffic study, and we have to think of what's reasonable. I don't think there's any way for us to change that.
Jamie? Andy?
Like 2 minutes to think about it. That's my
If you're,
comment.
if you're going to abandon
We're
this
sorry.
effort, I don't have anything to say. If you're not, I think we're regulating things, and now I'm speaking personally, okay, not as a council representative. But there was some sentiment there. We're regulating things that the state already regulates. You know, you have the distance between curb cuts, 300-foot straight line. You know, you have the size of curb cuts, you have how much traffic can be in one specific area. The state does all that already. And then the other problem, of course, is with the buffer strips. There are some businesses where if we do this retroactively, we're going to just wipe out their parking lot with a mandatory buffer strip. So, you know,
I guess the, what I haven't heard yet is blight, developmental blight, where, let's say folks develop along 202 and it ends up being a visual mess. And that's where these kind of measures are applied, to correct those things. But I understand what you're saying. So,
I mean,
Jamie,
I don't disagree with you about that. I don't know at all. Just the problem is, you know, businesses want to be seen and they don't want to be seen as part of a blight. I'm not sure how important that is. Of course, having said that, next thing you know, somebody's going to start a dump on 202. So, you know.
my case is made. Jamie?
Just gonna not, still,
Understandable, understandable. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. So let's go down the list again. Just to summarize, we have tabled or taken off our list of things to do the amendment of the official zoning map until we have more data, more information, the capability to do a better job in a holistic way. Is that my understanding? Council passed the first one, the first bullet, which was Article 4, 12G. This one, we just tabled the second one, with no action. The Article 3, 11, is that 11? Table 2, they approved. The solar ordinance with the changes to 6. And then, as Greg mentioned, we have a moratorium on residential care facilities. We have some input, but we got a lot of work to do. And did you say you were going to take on looking into that?
I'll take both of those and see.
Both of those? Okay.
Well, again, my initial cut here is just gonna be seeing if I can find existing ones.
Yep.
And share
Fair enough.
before I,
Fair enough.
to make sure to just see how the board feels before I start making changes.
You'll work with Don. Are you hot?
Having a hot flash, I apologize.
Oh,
I've
okay.
done some, Greg, and I.
Okay.
appreciate that.
So would you two work
So
together?
we did the disc house, I did some.
For the understanding, you
Was then.
and Greg will work together on it.
And I don't think the data center I don't think the data center one has come out from the state yet. So-
Yeah, and I think that's worthy of waiting till we get some kind
Well,
of,
yeah, there may be other towns that have already done something. And again, I think our biggest concern is the power consumption. And we have a moratorium to start. I don't know if we'd be able to get it by,
and I don't know what the law says, but my simple common sense approach to it, Don and I worked at a plant where we were a net energy generator, until we rebuilt number 4 machine, and then we became a buyer. And so we put a lot of power on the grid, in a variable way with some pretty powerful equipment. That said, if it's legal, you know, I don't know why any community doesn't negotiate with, and I assure you, they're looking for TIFs. tax incremental financing. I would be negotiating with whoever it is about them contributing power to the grid, as we did it for years at Androscoggin. And that solves that problem of not having enough power. Two, we're not driving rates up. And I don't know, I don't get a good sense that that's a priority.
Well, data centers will not generate any power, period.
All over the country, the data centers being created with their own power supply.
Well, they're created with backup generators.
No, with their own source of generation.
Well, that's right. They tie into an existing generation source or create a generation source.
Correct. And my point is that when they do that, they design it to have excess power that they're putting on the grid. Yeah, and if there's not a law requiring that or not allowing that, then a community needs to be looking at doing that for their own good. But I assure you, they'll be looking for TIFs.
I was just going to say, I think that there are opportunities there to impose certain requirements on them if they want to be here. Like even the cooling, we could demand that they employed geothermal or
All kinds of things.
solar. They could even, like Lowell Tech has a mini nuclear reactor in Massachusetts. We could require they do that or something. But I think we
They're
should.
talking about going to Mars with a vessel that is nuclear powered. And we have significant number of nuclear subs and carriers that are nuclear powered for 30 years without refueling.
And one more thing, I've been thinking about this since it was pitched at the last planning board meeting. And I think that we could think outside the box and say, if you want to put one here, you're going to contribute something to the town budget for every gigabyte or whatever you process.
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making, right? That you negotiate that in the process. Okay, I'm looking at the list that Dawn gave us for the next meeting. And I'm looking at discussion. So let's just quickly down through the shore area maps. You handed those are what you handed out
Did not.
for discussion? No?
All the maps to everyone. I just wanted to check with you. So although now some people do. So there's the two draft maps that we received from Turner, which is the shoreland zone separated and then just the updated land use zoning with the different colors and. Do
Is that what we have here? Or you
Not
have more?
Has it? Is it okay for me to?
You want to hand them out or you want to wait till next meeting? Or
Your pleasure. Actually, I would like to hand them out since some have them and
let's
some
hand them
don't.
out then.
So,
Got there.
Well, I want one.
Let's hand them out.
Yeah.
you could just make sure they have a shoreland map and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's land use and you should also have the
oh,
shoreline.
that's land use and here's shoreland.
Get the other.
Now we got.
So I have, did everyone?
I got land use. I don't have shoreline. That's one from.
It's a little pool here, isn't it?
Got
I like it cool, but I don't know if I wanted that.
I desperately try not to.
I got an extra one here. Or I'm okay. Am I doing all right?
How long we got here?
I didn't. Right?
What are we supposed to have? Two maps here?
Two.
Andy,
One should be
Andy,
land
you
use.
look at
The
the
other one
map?
should be.
I said,
they're coming around at the end of the table.
We have two, right?
We have two so far.
We got land use.
Next. Andy needs one.
I got it. I got both now.
Andy,
you need another one?
Andy.
Right here. Right here.
you got that one? There's two so far. You got two? Next,
public consumption. I mean, it's all public information, right? Because it's transparency, but I wouldn't want anyone to think that these maps are adopted. I did stamp them draft.
Don's making a point. Go ahead, Don.
So I just want to make sure that everyone knows, I mean, everything is available to the public record, transparency, but these maps are really not meant to be open to the public necessarily because they're draft.
Work in
I stamped
progress.
them draft, and I just wouldn't want anyone to get the wrong impression that this is the map
Correct.
in progress.
And it does say draft.
They're stamped.
Yeah, yeah,
Any other maps?
I like that.
Any other maps?
The only other map I brought was in case, I believe you all have the future land use map from the comprehensive plan. But if you don't, please take one as a,
We don't?
Yeah, we don't know what we get.
sorry. So that is in the comprehensive plan.
A box full of stuff.
When we talk about,
Andy, you got this one? Another one.
Stuff from years ago and I'm like,
I-
maybe.
if you want to bring stuff in and go through it and sift out, I'm happy to help.
Dolly.
Dolly, yeah, I couldn't think of the name.
Andy,
And I went through it the other day and I couldn't find anything to throw out.
you're welcome. Should have three.
I have,
So I think it was right.
And those,
That is on the maps?
Was that last one we got? Oh.
Yeah. They go in your book.
Probably two this weekend.
full land zoning.
Oh, this is the comp plan. Okay.
see, this is the water.
All right, I'm going down the list here. May 29th, chapter 1,000 conditional approval amendments have been reviewed and need second map and incorporated text. We covered that?
It'll be next meeting.
Okay. Nothing you want to hand out there?
1,000, I'm sorry, was the chapter 1,000 you were looking at, the second bullet? Okay. In the next meeting, you want to put
Okay.
that on, okay.
First floor commercial use on Main Street. We close on that one?
We talked about it. I have the map and the property owners getting a notification. They have not been
Is this a
mailed.
public hearing thing?
And it was to notify the abutters and then have a discussion after public notice about.
We can take a vote next meeting on this one?
After it's noticed to the property owners, you could. I just want to make sure you want to do that before I send notices out,
We don't
Yeah.
have the boundaries
if
yet.
there's going to be time.
But
Yeah.
Yeah. Because as I look at this, some of these homes, businesses now, whatever this is, it goes down to Memorial up,
The house.
those could be converted back to homes, and I don't know why we would restrict that, because I want to keep the village a village. It's nice to have homes in the village. That's what makes the village a village. Now, I can understand these 3-4 story buildings, yeah, those should remain that, and the first floor should be commercial, but
Braille to Hanson was my note of what we.
Correct.
I think
That's
we're
the,
landing on the smaller one, but we want to expand. it.
oh, we're not going down the side streets, right?
No,
It's
just.
just Main Street.
But just that boundaries with those intersections,
That was the large.
yeah.
please. Same
Yeah, because,
police station, basically, Hanson's across the street. And then it'd be going down to Royal Street, which is right across from the gas station.
you still got some buildings that look like homes, even if they're,
There's a couple, not many.
yeah.
There's
So-
a couple, especially right across from the gas station.
Oh, more to be discussed on the next meeting, right?
You don't come to. the
We're going to
meeting,
discuss
get-
more about this the next meeting.
You
And
want, well, it's because I guess what I was looking for specifically, Rick, was given all these points, what would you like, what do you have time for on that agenda? Because I don't want to notice folks for this discussion, but you really have other things you're going to discuss before, and then they're noticed and have to come.
all right, let me finish the list then. So we got the first floor commercial use, got LD 2173, which is density. We got a deadline of next year. We got residential care facility moratorium, which we've talked about, the data center moratorium. So going down that list, what are your priorities? Stephen, you have a priority there?
I'm not sure what are you talking about? Are you talking about selecting priorities for tonight's meeting?
for the next meeting.
Well, the next meeting. Okay, let me grab that.
You can pass if you don't have one.
That's
Right? Greg,
I think we have to prioritize the. They can do all four. We leave residential care, data centers off, and basically unless we have new information. Shore area zone map, we've kind of discussed, we're not meeting with Coppice Watershed, so
take that one
I
off.
think that one comes off.
And you're gonna notify them we're doing that, right?
I will notify them.
You're left with the three in the middle, and I think we easily can handle all three of those.
Okay, so recommendations in middle three. You have any priorities?
Yeah.
That's yours? Jamie? Okay, so the focus next meeting is those three, starting with first floor, ending with residential care. No, I'm sorry. What did I miss there, Greg?
The shore area map we're removing, so.
Yeah, so the next one down, the three there. Yep. Jamie, go ahead.
Share.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, on both of those, Greg and Don are working together on what exists for verbiage to give us something to start with.
Yeah.
If
the
you
idea
have,
is-
you have
is
more
something
verbiage
we're
than,
Looking at, so that we can say, this is what other towns did. So just so that we can bat around, and that's that's the hope, is if we can bring you any of that stuff, great. If we can't, then, the discussion in the blind might not be ideal. Because there's going to be topics we miss, and there's topics that, anyways.
so let me understand, do you want to do that before the meeting or at the meeting?
I mean, maybe if we all do our own little, then we can bring information to share with each other, even, or send it to Dawn for something she.
I'm gonna suggest individual board members work with Don. Then we don't get into a conflict with
Okay.
meeting. So if you have
Both.
these three,
Something,
Okay.
share it with each.
and certainly if you, Don, if you have something to add on the two bottom ones to Greg and Don, if you share with Don, that'd be the more input we have before the meeting, the better, more efficient we can be at the meeting, is my thought.
So people will direct their comments to me and I will make sure the board gets them. And then I will share information back and forth with just Greg so
Yep.
that you all get that as well.
And that way we don't get into interaction between the board and violating rules and regulations and laws and all that good stuff. Anything else? Other business? Covered a lot of material. You got anything to add? You're all set? Okay.
Can I?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute,
Oh, wait a minute.
I know I'm getting denser after I hit 80. I'm confused on this public water supply. You're saying 100-foot setback is what we've got for,
A public water supply, my understanding of public water supply is essentially it's just like shoreland zoning, except it's extended for 1,000 feet. Meaning that if they do construction, they have to have an erosion control berm, meaning they have to come to us and we have to kind of review that. Remember the pool we had to do
yeah.
up on 135 where it was like, yeah, and we're like, yeah, it's a pool in your backyard, you're fine. But we have to still treat it like shoreland zone because they have to follow shoreland zoning rules for when they do excavation.
All
What
the
are
way
they
up
doing
to
with the dirt?
1,000 feet.
That's
Okay, that's
right.
where I was confused.
That's my understanding is that it's that added protection that they're not going to be able to generate something
Okay.
800, 900 feet, and you got to go through a series of swales. Is there stuff we can do to again protect the drinking water source?
Oh, it's not the same as shore. That's why was my question.
It's buildable. There's no other, my understanding is there's no other restrictions or limitations except they have to come to us.
But they gotta be, so they could build 100 feet from
Yep.
Upper Narrows.
We may decide that, that's, again, we have to go through our 14 points, groundwater, surface water, all of those things. They also have to do the construction. But other than that, my understanding is they're really, except expanding the zone to 1,000 feet, they're pretty much the same.
Question with that, Greg. So my understanding is that the shoreline is overlaid with public water district in some locations, right? But that beyond the 250 and the 1,000, I'm not aware that shoreline applies. So you're talking about like coverage, like impervious area?
Shoreland,
Putting-
yeah, shoreland zone applies to 250. That's a state mandate.
That I understand.
Right, but my interpretation, I know I talked to Mark about this years ago. My understanding was when I was first introduced to what is public water supply, it's the exact same thing as shoreland zone. We treat it the same, but basically it expands it to 1,000 feet.
So that includes things like 20% coverage.
Well,
and
those
tree
still
cutting.
apply because of what zone they're in, the 20% app. But yes, tree cutting, everything still applies exactly the same.
Between
It's-
250 and
it's-
1,000?
Yep, yeah, it doesn't mean, if they have the land, it's not a problem. That 20% impervious applies to residential. So you have to meet that in the town of Winthrop anyways. So it's not really a problem. I think the thought is if you're going to build a Walmart 500 feet from the water, Maine shoreland zoning doesn't do anything.
They'd be limited to the 30% expansion, things like.
Well, there's lots, yes, absolutely. The expansion may be, well, potentially, if they're building a new house 100 feet from the water, we wouldn't necessarily, it's a conforming structure, so we wouldn't say what their limitation would be. They're limited on height, they're limited on, but it's more of the construction practice, and we may look at it and say, does it pose a threat to the water source? That's really is kind of my understanding is that they have to do shoreland zoning construction. So they have to put a berm or silt fence, a mulch control berm and silt fence. Any trees that they cut, don't stump them, don't remove them, don't pave it, don't whatever to create a runoff source.
I'd like to propose that we clarify that in the ordinance somewhere. Can I propose something for the next meeting based on what you're saying?
We could try. I mean,
That'd be a good idea.
yeah, it's basically just read the ordinance and it's not really defined any other way. There's no other limitations and requirements on drinking water source.
That's something the town has put in.
Yeah.
Not a-
No, that's why, again, the state stops at 250. So if somebody wanted to put in a Walmart and they met all our other requirements, they could put that in 250 feet away from the drinking water source. And that's where, okay, they'd have to come to us because it's close enough. We may want to be limiting that.
Yeah, we can make it stricter than.
Yes,
the
we
state.
can make it stricter. We have to go through those 14 points for a conditional use permit, anybody that's in the shoreline zone. So we can go through those 14 points, which again is surface water, groundwater, erosion control, all of the sediment control. Those are all different pieces of those 14 points.
I'd like to see that in there somehow.
Don, are you all set? Are you all set?
Thank you.
By the way, anybody online that wants to say anything?
Casey Nelt.
Pardon?
There's a Casey Nelt online. Are you asking for public input?
Ask him if he wants to say anything.
Casey, do you want to say anything this evening?
You did.
You done? Are you all set? You're excused. I'll entertain a motion, if I haven't yet.
John did, I think.
Did you make a motion to adjourn? No, you stopped us.
Oh, that's right.
You want to make a motion to adjourn? I hear a second.
Second.
I got 3 seconds. All in favor? Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
You all.
Huh?
All right, thank you.
Not resource protection, drinking water, public water supply. There we go.